Okay, so that way everybody has it, whether they come late or not. So today, let me share my screen. Um, let's go a little bit over week 5. So this is supposed to be a fun assignment, and we're going to take some time to. You all have access to Creative Cloud now. So, like, if you're working off of your laptops, I'm going to show you where to go, um, and all that good stuff. But you should have access to Adobe Premiere. Now, let's see. Yeah, hide the floating meeting controls. All right, so I just posted this. This is week 5. I'm going to cover some of this in the video recording now, but it's essentially you're going to do what you're really going to learn is video editing. So you have all this B-roll that you shot, and you're going to try to figure out, well, how do I construct a story out of this B-roll when I create my PSA? Because the B-roll is supposed to feed your PSA, but the part of it is you kind of need to learn how to use the tools. And the tool that we're going to be using for editing, even in the classroom, is Adobe Premiere. So what you're going to do is let's just kind of go through it. So here's the materials. You need Adobe Premiere, which you all have access to Creative Cloud. So I'm going to show you how to download and install that. Obviously, computer with internet. Storyboarding template is really more for your PSA, not necessarily for this assignment, but access to free video clips. So I put a ton of free video clips here. Now, what you're going to do for this thing is you're going to try to go through all these different video services, as well as down here, every time you download or you find something, if it exists, feel free. I'm going to keep adding to it. There's a ton of these free video clips in here. So you can actually click on it and you can watch the video clip. You might have to request access. So here's a bunch of people in a meeting. Also, after you get Adobe Premiere down, you'll be able to kind of go through these. Now, like, for example, if we go to pixels.com, and then here's Pixel Bay, these guys offer free resources for you to download video. So what you're going to do is, and I'm going to demo this for you right now. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this over here. I'm going to dock this on the side, and I'm going to dock this, which is my video editing tool. And what you want to do is you're going to open Adobe Premiere. So actually, let me go ahead and do that so you could see what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and type Adobe Premiere Pro. And this is Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, you'll start with this splash screen. And what you want to do is you want to click on New Project. And we're going to be doing some very basic editing. Later, we'll do color grading, we'll do titles, things like that. And actually, titles are pretty easy. I think we have to install a library like this install motion graphics template in order to do it. But overall, you start off with this new project, and then you go up to the top here and you go to File, or sorry, right here. You give your project a title here. So we're going to call this Found Footage. And this is going to go up on your website. And then project location, I'm just going to create a project folder on my desktop. So choose location on my desktop. And then I'll make a folder called Found Footage. And then I'm going to select this folder. Now, I do anticipate that a lot of you are going to have similar clips, and that's okay. That's part of the fun of it. Because we're going to be using the same sort of set of videos, but I want to see what you come up with to create sort of a story behind it. So once you do that, maybe I should give put a U in there. There we go, Found Footage. You go down to the corner, this right corner here, and you click Create. And that creates this basic empty template. Now down here, you'll see there's Import Media to start. It's a media bin. And here is your editing tools. So let's go to one of those found footage sites, right? So let's see. So here's the first link I clicked on, which was Pixels, this is Pixabay. Here's Pixels. So let's say I want to create a video. So they offer free royalty videos for you to use. So I'm going to click on videos here. So how would you guys like my film to start? Somebody tell me about a specific clip they find interesting as a nice opening shot. Which one of these that you see here should I go with?
I like the one with the man walking on the hill.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna hit download here. This is gonna pop up. It doesn't matter. Thank you for mentioning that. So I'm gonna go up to downloads here and I'm gonna click on this folder. So this is a bunch of junk in my hard drive, but I'm just gonna have my let's see, that found footage folder open on my desktop, and I'm just gonna grab that and drop it in here. So I have it saved in the same folder, just found footage. Then I'm gonna grab it from here and I'm just gonna drag it into Premiere. So this is going to be probably one of the more fun projects in the sense of, I mean, all of them are going to be fun. You're making films, right? So I'm going to grab this footage and really we should name it like guy walking with guitar. And then I'm going to drag it down into my project. And this is the clips. This is where all my bin is for all my footage. And I can right click in here and make new bin and call these like outside shots. And then I can drag this guy into outside shots, and then I can double click that bin. And bins are like, they put film in tons of bins. And then I just drag it over here, and here's my opening shot. So now when I press play, you can see here's the guy walking. Now, we don't necessarily have a story yet, but like it'll slowly organically go through kind of being interesting. So I'm gonna have, this is kind of a really long shot and it might get people boring. So let's have it intercut with something. So I'm going to go over here to my razor tool and I'm just going to cut this here. And then I'm going to go back to my arrow here or my V tool and I'm going to just drag this over here. Now in between this, let's go find another shot from the internet, from the site that we can cut to. This is an interesting lady. Here's him playing guitar. We could probably use that later. Here's a girl playing. Let's see. Let's see if we could find a person like this guy and we can intercut between this guy and that dude. Maybe we'll try to form a little bit of tension. This is going to be tough. So let's see. I see him drinking tea. Here's a teacup thing. Let's see if there's anything else related. All right, so let's go ahead and let's download this teacup. And I'm going to download that. I'm going to grab that guy wherever he was at, this guy. I'm just going to click this here. And so same thing. Let's see. Let's double click these clips so we know what we're looking at here. Okay, so that one is the guy drinking tea. So let's rename that guy drinking tea. And let's go to found footage. And let's drag that in here. Boom. Come on. And then what was this clip? Is this the tea? Yeah, pouring tea. So you have a whole week to have fun and just like play in Premiere, do something awesome. Let's jump back into our back into Premiere here. And then I'm gonna drag the guy drinking tea. And there's these different timelines, right? Here. And then I'm gonna drag the pouring tea. And maybe what I can do is we're watching this film. This guy's walking. Cuts to the tea pouring. And honestly, these clips are different sizes. So let's hit scale to frame size so it frames it. And actually what we can do is, let's see. We kind of want to zoom in. I mean, they're awkward clip sizes. So I'll show you in a second how to adjust this, but we want to kind of lay it out. So here's the tea being poured, right? Maybe halfway through the tea being poured, and pay attention to this. See how it says razor tool, then it has a letter C there. I'm going to hit C for my cut tool. Let's cut that. Then I'm going to hit V. I'm going to move this over. And let's cut to the guy walking again. Oh, is it? Oh, this guy drinking tea. Okay. Here's the guy walking. So let's bring this over here. So it cuts between the guy walking, pouring tea, back to the guy walking. Yeah, let's go here. And then here's pouring tea again. Now, if you want to, you can shrink the clip down by left clicking at the end here and just kind of moving it. And that's going to be part of your grade, is just playing with like Where's the guy drinking tea? Oh, he's at the end. So let's actually right click on this clip. And then, like I said, just do scale to frame size. So he's in frame. So now when we watch this, we can kind of speed this up a little bit by playing with these guys walking, cuts to some frame of some tea, cuts back to him walking, pouring tea. He finishes pouring the tea, it goes down. We see this dude. So I don't expect your movies to be the most exciting, but this is more of an exercise for you all to practice like cutting and editing. Now up here where it says graphics and titles, you can add a new layer, which is a text title here. And this is kind of fun. So down at the bottom, you can put tea and guitar, right? That's the name of our awesome movie, right? So as this plays, we have tea and guitar. So this is really just so that you guys can learn Premiere. You're playing in Premiere, you're playing with cutting. Now, I love the students who are like the hardcore, like I need an A. So don't be afraid to go online and find cool tutorials, right? Like you can actually like, for example, like there's, you can speed up or slow down the clips, right? Like you can go in here and it says like set to scale, or where's that at? Let's see, field options. You can play with like any kind of cleanup stuff, like flicker removal. Let's see, what else do we have here before we add some some VFX? Speed and duration. So I can say, you know what, I want this thing to be 200% faster. This guy is just walking way too slow. So if I press play now, you can see he's like, oh no, that's the pouring the tea. Yeah, so that sped up the pouring the tea. Let's see. And then, oops, I undid it. So he puts the tea down, but this guy walking, we can go right click and go speed and duration, and I can make this 200% faster. And then let's move this over. So now you can see it sped up, cut to the T. So we have our titles, we have some basic cutting of T, and then I'm going to show you briefly. Let's see, hold on a second. What else would be kind of neat? Let's see. A lot of the motion graphics stuff, like you can actually install a motion graphics template, which makes this act like After Effects. If you're not familiar with After Effects, it's like I've created a lot of motion graphics for companies using it. It's pretty freaking cool. Let's see if there's anything else. This is pretty awesome. The Essential Sounds and Essential Graphics. If you click on this, you can see it adds like these kind of almost like if you say you're working for a company that does like, see how it says sports results, a slide in thing, like you can drag these and drop them on top. Oh, it's got to import. Okay, give it a second. There we go. See how it has this on here? This Coach Adobe MVP, and you can go in here. Oops. Let me delete that for a second. You can go inside of here by double clicking it and you can edit the title. Like instead of this, it's like Dr. DeMartian. So if you want to use any of these, I'm totally cool with it. It kind of throws it off, but you can, you know, let's see what else. Here's some graphics. Here's T and guitar, the title. You can do some graphics on that. So let's see. Let's see. Effects controls probably what we're looking for. So for example, you can see motion or opacity. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on opacity here. And you'll see like a little, it says toggle animation. So let's say we want this T and guitar. Well, let's start off just from the top where it says motion. You can actually scale this up here. Here, let me just make sure I select the whole clip. I can scale up the whole clip here. Come on. I went a little bit too big. So it's like a little bigger, and then you can actually set the scale. So if I click this on and I expand this, you can see there's like a little bit of a timeline here. So let's say at the beginning, I want this thing to be like smaller, and then I want it to fly into frame. So I move a little bit closer this way, and you can see it's scaled up that way. So I'm going to go ahead and press play. And we have T in guitar with this guy walking pretty slowly. And then let's say, I want to cut this. I can just kind of move it to the end of that if I only want it to be here. And then it cuts to the T. And then let's say I want this T shot to be like fade in or something. There's opacity. So I can check on this toggle animation. And at the very beginning here, I can set it to 0%. So I'm just left clicking and I'm dragging to the left. There's also this slider. And I go in a few frames and it goes to 100%. So T in guitar, fades into this guy pouring tea. Maybe we want it to fade out again. So I could just here, I'll just move this and you can see it set a key here. Like on this, let me move this over a little bit. This is like my complete timeline. And then I move it all the way over here, and that represents the end of this clip. I can just bring this down. So T in guitar, fades into the T, fades out of the T, and then it cuts back to this dude. Now, if you want it to be like a fade in over the shot, you could drag it up, drag it out a little bit, and now it'll fade in over this person. So let's drag this pin over here a little, or this key to the left a little bit. And now, oh, the shot starts here. So let's move this key all the way over here. So now we have a fade in overlay. So I don't know. I mean, like we're using found footage. So like, again, I want you to have fun with this. Really, those are the main tools I want you to play with, is these inside of here, the anti-flickering. Like I said, I'm super stoked if you're like a rock star and you want to do some tutorials, but there is enough found footage. Like if, for example, like we can go in here and then like grab that guitar shot, or like here's that same person playing guitar. Or in here, let's see what they have in here. Let's go to videos. Here's videos. So you can grab some of these shots. Let's see, what else do we have? We have, here's royalty-free music. So let's add some music to this. There's also, I guess that doesn't exist anymore. So that's going to be a dead one. I thought I added some, yeah, here's free sound. I think there's a site, I think I missed it on here. I've used it before in my video games for sound effects, but just really, you could just do a search for royalty-free music. Here, I'm going to turn on share sound. Hold on a second. So you guys can hear this. Here we go, high floating meeting controls. Okay. So let's take a look at how do we add sounds to this thing. Well, normally, let's see. I'm just going to do a quick search for royalty-free sounds. I'm going to see if that site pops up. I mean, it takes us back to Pixabay, but I want to make sure that we hear it. Rock Cinematic. Can you guys hear that or no? Yeah? Okay, cool. Let's see if there's any music. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and hit download. And then up here where it says brain damage, same thing as before. I'm just going to drag it in here. And then inside of Premiere, I'm going to make a clip, another bin. So a new bin, I'm just going to call this sounds. Where's that at? Oh, here, sounds. And then I'm going to go into, now remember, this is kind of a major point. I'm saving everything in this found footage thing. Otherwise, when you go back in there, you won't be able to access it. Did I not drag it in there? Where was that? Oh, here's brain damage. Okay, so I'm going to drag that in there. And now we'll add that to a clip down at the bottom here. And then you can overlay sounds. But now we have this. I mean, just adding that little bit of sound, like, changed the whole story, right? Like now it's like, what is this guy gonna do? Kill someone. I might even cut it sooner. Like maybe he puts down the thing here, and then the guy's drinking tea here. Let's watch that again. Super suspenseful. Okay. Any comments about that? Anyone excited about this particular project? Yeah, okay. So the assignment, let's look at the assignment really quick. And then I want to open up questions I want to hear about how B-roll footage, shooting B-roll went for you all. So down here, it's like create your short film. This is the homework assignment. Really, what you saw there is I want you to come up with a story. That's all it is, with sound and all that cool stuff. And that's really what this assignment is. And then in the end, the part that I really want to explain to you, because I'm not going to accept the assignment if it's not on YouTube, and if the video is not on YouTube, and it's not on a website. So on your website, you're gonna have to create a section called found footage. And then below that title on your website, I want you to upload the video. So let's take a quick look at how we render this. So up here at the top, you'll see file, and then you wanna make sure like your timeline is selected. And then you wanna go to export down here at the bottom, and then media. Now you want to install Media Encoder. It might make you do that anyway, but if you click media here, it's going to bring up this window, and then you can watch the movie to make sure. Now you could, if you turn this on, it's going to prompt you. You can sign into YouTube. I'm just going to do media file here, select that. And the default settings should be MP4. I'm fine with all of this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hit export, and I'm going to go ahead and export that out to the desktop, or it's going to be in that same found footage folder. So you can see here, is it this one? Yeah, so here's our movie. Okay, so what do I do with this? Well, let's go to YouTube really quick. And then we're going to open up Wix, and I'm going to show you how to embed this in your website. So I'm going to hit this create button here. Actually, I want to make sure I'm not in my Netflix account, because that could be a problem. So, so my Netflix work account. So let's go to my A to Margin one. So let's switch accounts. Here, hold on a second. Here, bear with me for a second. Oh, down here. Okay, so here's my A to Margin. And then I'm going to go to YouTube. And I'm going to click create. And I've got my found footage folder here. Come on, create. Upload a video. Oh, I want to switch it. What's going on here? Here we go. Okay. All right, switch to accounts, upload video. So I'm just gonna grab this guy with walking with guitar video, and I'm gonna drag it in here to copy it. All right, so you wanna go, no, it's not made for children. You can add it to whatever playlist you want. Next, next, next. I'm gonna make this public. And then I wanna click this link just so I have it saved off on the side, and I'm gonna hit publish. Now back in Wix, let me go ahead and sign into my Wix account. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And let's do Demargin 3D, select and edit site. All right, and edit site up in the corner here. No, I don't want to spend any money. Come on, edit site. So let's go ahead and tear this off. I'm going to dock this on the side, and then I want to dock my assignment to make sure I did this right. So over here, it says embed your footage. So you're going to make a section called found footage film. So, so let's go ahead and add an element, some text, add a heading on one. I'm going to drag this down here. Let's go ahead and delete this. I don't need that. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. So I'm going to add a blank. I want to add like a blank section here. So this is blank. I'm going to grab heading 1, drag it down here, and I'm going to name this, just double clicking it, and I'm going to paste in found footage. Sorry, I need to drag this out a little bit. Now that was me just adding in. Now let me add another element. And this time I want to add a video, right? And I want to add a YouTube video. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to drag it down here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And when you click on this, you should be able to double click. You could see it says, what's the video's web address? Well, we have it right here. And after you refresh it, it should come up in a second. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to double click this. Come on. There you go. Delete. You can see there's my guy walking with a thing. Let's kind of expand this section out a little bit. You can grab this little guy here to maximize it. I mean, your guys, like, I'm so jealous of you in the sense of like, this cost me $1 million when I was your age to like, you had to buy the site, you had to code it. It wasn't like, so let's go ahead and hit publish. And then here it is. Let's view the site. So this right here, where it says Hulk Wix site Demarson 3D, that's what you're going to turn into me. And then down at the bottom, here's our movie. Masterpiece. And then you learn Premiere, and then you got your stuff up there. And then next class, you're going to show your video. Comments. All right.
Sorry, for this assignment, do you want us to like interlay the B-roll footage that we took, or are we doing like a separate thing?
You could 100% do that if you like. The whole point of this assignment is a 1 to 2 minute movie using a bunch of different found footage. So there's actually an artistic movement called the found footage movement. And it's called the found objects movement. So like here, it's just creating found footage to make movies. But here, let's see. So like there's all these people who just create a bunch of art or films or whatever. So you're kind of creating an expressive piece. You know, like, oh, this is, to me, it's about like drinking tea and racism. You know, and I'm like, wow, that's really deep. I see that in your movies, Tea and Walking or whatever it was called. You know, so like you're just really, so what is the point? The exercise is for you to learn Premiere. That's the point of the exercise. But if you have a cool piece of your portfolio that comes out of it, even cooler. But yes, you can use your B-roll. Okay, I want to hear about people's experience shooting B-roll. Megan, what was your experience? Oh, Megan, we have to talk later, I know.
I didn't.
Sorry. Yeah, no, and I thank you. I appreciate it. Hang out after class. We'll talk because, you know, that's the worst, man, when you're sick. Luke, any comments?
No, I haven't gotten started on it yet.
Luke, I had full faith in you, man.
The other two people, well, it's not a problem, but they have the camera right now, so I gotta get it from them sometime soon. But
okay, Ava.
I also had I have a question.
Yeah, let me hear it.
So for my like PSA, like the main environment is kind of just like in a room. Like, so I'm kind of wondering like what exactly like would the B-roll footage be for that? Because it's not like there's not going to really be like any like like stuff outside or anything like that. It's kind of
Tell
just
us,
like
tell us a little bit about your PSA, and then I want your classmates to give suggestions.
so
So
basically. Oh,
go
can
ahead.
I? Okay. So basically, my PSA is just about it's about fantasy football, and it's about explaining like fantasy football to people that don't really understand. So pretty much all that really happens is like watching football on like my computer or my TV and showing it to other people that don't understand and like kind of like doing like a funny like skit about like kind of like why it's stupid sometimes, why it's good, funny sometimes, why it could be exciting, stuff like that.
Okay. I want to hear from at least four of you about what football type objects, whether he can get it from AliExpress or going to a thrift store or whatever, that he can shoot B-roll footage that relates to fantasy football. Now, fantasy football, is it going to be computer based?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I use fantasy football on my phone, but I'm not really like showing like the app. It's just like kind of watching like football games and like understanding like what's going on about it.
But you have to set up a little bit of an experience of the person. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, it's gonna be
Who's
like me and my like well, it's gonna be like me and my roommate. Like that's gonna be like the person, my roommate's gonna be like the one
okay.
that and he
And
actually really doesn't understand.
perfect. So here's the thing, guys. B-roll footage can have people in it too. So I want to hear suggestions for Luke.
You could maybe like do a clip of somebody wearing a jersey and like have a voiceover of something, like putting on a jersey or like a football helmet or something.
I like it. So getting ready, just putting the shirt on, putting on a helmet. And you could go get a cheap garbage jersey. Like I don't want you guys spending a lot of money, but like, man, you go to the thrift store, you can get a jersey there. Like you could, I'm sure you have football jerseys if you like fantasy football. Okay, who's next? Somebody else. Come on, give me more. Give me more. Come on, filmmakers.
You
Uh,
could do,
I
like,
have a suggestion that you could probably do is that like a lot of people for fantasy football, they have their own like setup, camera, like computer setup. And you could just like record that like before you even started like picking your players or whatever. You could just record like your camera or your computer screen and like water or bottles of water on each side or like, Gatorade, like it's a real sport or whatever. But yeah, make it interesting,
No, I
something like
like
that.
it. I like it. You're clicking through. Remember, B-roll is just random stuff that relates to the subject. Guy putting on a jersey, that stuff, and the story comes together later. Luke, Megan, go.
I was thinking you could like play into the fantasy aspect of it, like in a silly way, like I don't know, like a unicorn horn or like elf ears or like something like like that doesn't really have anything to do with the football aspect of it, but kind of like playing into that like in a joking way.
Megan gave me an idea too about the playing into the strength behind it, like people chest bumping, people out of excitement. Let me stop sharing for a second. Matt, I saw you jump in. Hold on. I want to just kind of finish this thought. Give me more. Will, you gave me something. Luke, let's see. Who else? Anna, you got something? Either Anna. Suggestions.
Um, I was thinking since like your roommate doesn't really know anything about fantasy football or something, you could sort of deck out your side of the room with like cheap football decorations and show how his has really nothing.
What the fuck is going on right now? I don't know.
I don't know either, Grace. So let's see. All right. Grace, you might want to mute it. Mute your.
Sorry.
You're okay. You're okay. I got to tell you about a story. I literally did the same thing at Netflix when I was in the car. So you're totally cool, and it really tore my stomach apart. Christy, does your mic work? Because your suggestion is fantastic. Christy posted something in chat.
I think, is it working? I don't know. My computer's being
It totally is working.
Okay. I know for a fact that there's a Chicago Sports Museum in Water Tower Place, like right next to the downtown campus. I think it's free for students, but I can't promise that.
Yeah, and they might let you take some pictures or video in there. All right, one more, and then I want to introduce the great Matt Skoniki, who's joined us today. One more. Marie, Abigail, Grace, if you're free, one of you. I want to hear something cool, something that some B-roll footage Luke can shoot. Who's going to be a leader and jump in? None of you. Yes,
It's all right.
Abigail, awesome.
I didn't hear his idea, so
Fantasy football, he needs B-roll footage
I don't
ideas.
know his idea.
Sorry, Abigail, the audio is breaking
What's
up.
his about?
It's okay, Abigail. I think there's something wrong with your mic.
Yeah,
His
it's
idea, just
it's
to
all right.
reiterate, is he's trying to make a PSA about fantasy football. So I was looking for different things that have to do with football that he can shoot for B-roll footage. So, Luke, what do you think so far? Does that kind of make sense, what you can do?
Yeah, that was a lot of good suggestions. Yeah.
Is it cool? And
Thanks.
and honestly, if you've already had some of them, that's awesome too. But really, B-roll, dude, is just B-roll. You're using it as you'll have it for later. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like you
yeah.
may never use the chest bumping thing, or you might be like, wow, I'm gonna open with that. Or a shot of the house from the outside is your establishing shot, and then it zooms into the window, and then it cuts to you guys being in the room, like the bedroom watching fantasy football. Does that make sense, Luke?
Yeah.
So the B-roll would be the establishing shot of the house and the zoom in on the window. All right, Matt, is it cool if we chat now? Because I know you're kind of on a time constraint.
Yeah, I'm just trying to set up my video. Just give me a second here. Sorry.
Oh yeah, take your time. All right. While Matt's doing that, sorry, go ahead, Matt. Okay. Who questions about B-roll? I want to hear more. Who had a positive experience shooting B-roll footage?
I had a pretty positive experience shooting B-roll. I did a lot of mine just of like, I wasn't sure if I wanted my setting to be like the actual like downtown city or just like the area around Loyola. So I just started with the area around Loyola and just took some footage of like empty streets and whatnot. And it went pretty well. Some of my video was like a bit shaky just because I didn't have a tripod, but I found like something on Premiere that lets you like stabilize it. So yeah.
I am so proud of you. Is this your first time using Premiere, or like did you ever way to jump ahead, Emma? I love it. Thanks. Always a leader. All right, anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, I gave you guys an extension on the B-roll, so please use the time wisely. Try to get the camera from each other. If you need to rent the camera yourself, you don't necessarily have to share the camera. The only reason I was telling you guys to share it was just because I wanted you to work together in case somebody wanted to be in one of the B-roll shots walking and you had somebody else filming. So, so that was the only thing behind it. Any suggestions or anything about anything cool that you noticed about today's lesson about editing in Premiere or anything like that? How many of you have access to Premiere? Or actually, while we're waiting for Matt, let's do the installing of Creative Cloud on your computers. So if you're on your personal laptop right now, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oh, there you go. Hey, Matt. All right, cool. We'll start with Matt because a little bit of the time crunch, and then.
Hey, hi everybody. How you doing? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah. Man,
Okay.
you are in a bright time warp zone thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to show you my horrible apartment. I just Google search this thing. I don't know.
It's okay. It's all right.
So, hi guys. How you doing, gals, guys, everybody?
You sound good, man. Matt, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do?
I'm a visual effects compositor for Tower 33, which is a visual effects company based in Los Angeles and Atlanta. We do TV shows for Disney, Netflix, HBO Max, Apple TV, NBC, ABC, CBS, stuff like that. So we do all type, you name it. We've done like visual effects, CG work. We also just we're finishing up a long haul feature film called The Futurist. You could look it up on IMDb if you guys are curious. Big science fiction special effects extravaganza, which took us. Feature films usually take a long time to get done. So real heavy visual effects type TV shows might take even longer. Like we just finished Disney's American Born Chinese, which is a big visual effects craziness. It stars the two actors that just won the best actor and best actress or whatever. So that was a blast working with, we also collaborated with DNEG, which is Double Negative, which is a visual effects house that does like movies like Dune and all that. So it was fun to work with them. But we are a small tier visual effects house. And we do all types of things. We could even do things as low as cleanup all the way up to CG integration. So there's a lot of legal issues with visual effects, as far as like shows, like somebody accidentally filmed a poster that shouldn't be there. Before I was working in visual effects, I worked as a Cinemax character artist at NetherRealm in Chicago, which is a Mortal Kombat series and all that. And from there, I learned the aspects of how legal can be so scary to even a big corporation. There's an old saying, nobody likes lawyers until you need one. And you can really see how lawyers were needed to protect these franchises from frivolous lawsuits and so forth. So one of the things we do as compositors, we'll clean up stuff that shouldn't be there. There's also cosmetic work for actors and actresses. They have to look perfect. So there's a lot of removing of zits, all types of stuff. During COVID, we did a Broadway was closed down during COVID. So we did a show called Diana, which was, they couldn't obviously have people go in. So we had to, they basically filmed the play that was on Broadway and put it up on Apple TV. And we had to remove all of the hairnets, all of the bad makeup jobs, because when you're out there on the stage sweating, all types of hairnets start breaking up and all that. And then their microphones are in the shot. So we got to remove the microphones. It's a lot of meticulous work. So yeah,
I have some questions about how you do that and what software, but I kind of want to start with like, that's all awesome. And I'm super stoked to dive in. Where did you go to college? What was that like? And then what was your first art job out of college?
I went to film school at Columbia College, Chicago. I personally didn't find the experience too enjoyable. It's kind of, I've always been like a film type guy. I was digging that, but I left and then eventually got myself starting to interest in CG visual effects. And from there, I started learning about visual effects and so forth. And then finally someone said, hey, there's a job over at a game studio. You want to work there? And we use the same software, which would be Maya, After Effects and so forth. So I started in the cinematics department at NetherRealm. And that was somewhat form of a film reality because it was intros, outros. We were still pre-rendering. Now it's all in the engine real time. So we were rendering it, render passes, compositing them with After Effects. Today we use Nuke, which is a 3D package, and so forth. But from there, I basically left NetherRealm, started teaching visual effects at different schools at Illinois Institute of Art, Tribeca, Flashpoint. These colleges don't exist anymore in Chicago, by the way. But it was a great time. The visual effects was always kind of left to itself. And we got to train up a lot of amazing artists that are now like leads at like ILM and so forth, working on like Book of Boba Fett and all that. So it was great to see them go off into the world and, stake their claim. But mostly my forte is visual effects nowadays. So
I'm always surprised. Like I was online and like seeing students that I taught like 6 years ago. And one guy was in Japan at a game conference, and I guess he works for High Voltage now. And he's like, it's so cool seeing my company's logo on the side of this other game studios, like who they partner with, like in another country. So it is interesting seeing all these students go off and do amazing things, and coworkers, right? Like working with people at High Voltage who are at Blizzard now, right? So you're working in video games as a character artist at NetherRealm, like on Mortal Kombat and stuff. And then how did the transition happen into working on, like, were you just teaching yourself motion graphics? Like, how did that happen?
I just had enjoyable background and starting to see this new technology of 3D tracking and incorporating visual effects. It was the visual effects industry is extremely young. In fact, there's a lot of questions as far as where do you go when you retire from visual effects? Well, a lot of people haven't reached that yet. I mean, the real birth of visual effects industry has been like 1993, which was Jurassic Park. You know, so
Can you clarify visual effects versus modeling? Like how does that differentiate as an industry versus editing? Like today's lesson was about editing,
Mhm.
and there's compositing in editing, and there's VFX in editing. But can you give us a little background on how it relates, or how is it different and how is it the same?
So it's you're obviously compositing is the one field everyone goes, what's that? What's that? Well, it's technically, you know, put it in layman's terms, it's like After Effects, you know, you put in your special effects and so forth, but we use a program that's more three-dimensional, and that's called Nuke. And that is where you're marrying the live action footage to the CG. You're taking a very non-linear world and you're marrying it to a linear world. And that has to do with lenses and 3D tracking, anamorphic lenses, and trying to convince the audience that what they're seeing is something that was filmed through the flawed optics of a lens. So you're talking lens flares, you're talking chromatic aberration, you're talking all types of imperfections that are through the barrel of a dusty old lens, but you know, it's rendered perfectly in CG. You're kind of taking the perfect world of CG and you're making it imperfect. And you're trying to convince the audience through depth of field blur, through motion blur, that this thing is real, that it's actually there. So
Gotcha. Is it a tough industry to break into?
well, I mean, if we're talking compositing and visual effects, it's this whole COVID thing has been just a weird flux. Like there was everybody was watching streaming during the pandemic, and then there was this huge flux of jobs that came out of nowhere, and it still continues on. Just like in everything in both film, you just have to there's a great demand for really good artists. There's not a great demand for people that are like just subpar artists. And that's just the way it is. But I honestly, there's certain fields that are a lot easier to sneak into than others. Like compositing is a really good wide angle, a wide thing to grab a hold of. Just even through my company, I've gotten like 5 or 6 people at Purdue, where I'm at now, getting my master's, getting them jobs, and they're making anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a week doing compositing and removing zits. Now, again, you would think like, you know, is that really hard? Well, it depends on what degree of, you know, you're doing. And usually you start out in cleanup with compositing. You're removing zits, you're working on cosmetic lines, you know, any crow's feet, stuff like that. Sometimes just removing a sign in the background. And it can be really quick, easy money, you know, for that. And then you might have stuff that's like really difficult, which is like heavy visual effects intensive shots and so forth. So it's you learn as you go, basically. But there are a lot of VFX houses. It is a little bit of a nomad lifestyle sometimes, but COVID sort of destroyed that. I used to work at visual effects companies in Chicago and watch Californian modelers and 3D artists come over to work for a month or two in Chicago, and you'd see they were missing their families. I mean, but then you'd see once COVID hit, all these studios had to forget all this garbage about like you can't work from home, and all of a sudden everybody's working home and nobody wants to return, which is absolutely awesome. I love working at home and going down to the coffee shop, getting a coffee, come back, working, you know. It's just a blast working. And it's a little harder to have personal water cooler conversations in person with other artists. Like I work with artists that have worked on all types of big major motion pictures, and you just want to like pick their brain sometimes, but they have families, you know, they're sitting in their house, you see their kid running around in the background and you don't know when to bug them, you know, at the proper time. But there are ways to just kind of chit chat with them and kind of talk to them. But it is very difficult to establish really good relationships and get that real true over the shoulder encounter where someone's sort of pointing out stuff and saying, here's what you should fix, this is what you should think about. So
how has to comment on the work from home thing, I absolutely love it too. Like I just can't get enough of it. And Netflix was like, surprisingly enough, like they were super receptive. They're like, the people were like, we don't want to work in the office anymore. We want to do work from home. It's better for quality of life. And they're like, okay, new rule, everybody work from home. It was like that easy versus other studios I worked at where they were like you hear about it in the media now where they're like forcing everyone to come back. And these people are a bunch of like babies and they're trying to steal from the company and they just want to be lazy and they don't want to travel. And it's like, I don't want to sit on a bus. Like these poor guys, they actually travel from our the up north campus, some of them, and they take the school bus and then they stay till like 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then they take the school bus, being the school has a free bus system, and they go back. And it's like, hopefully they get into, if that bothers them, they get in this role where they work from home. How have you seen the compositing industry evolve? And then the second part of that question is, how are you handling the writing strike and all that? Because that's a question that comes up in my morning class. It's like, how is this affecting the actor strike, the writing strike? Have I heard anything about that? So,
yeah, it's affected us greatly. We went from 2 years straight of constant work of just nonstop. I mean, for me, trying to get my master's and work a full-time job as a visual effects artist has been pretty crazy. And in the midst of that, it's just been crazy busy. That's why I've been hiring students who have been graduating, just like, hey, go through my training, do this, get started. And they're happy. They're buying houses and cars and all this. And then all of a sudden this strike occurred. So we had all this work, and we have a whole bunch of shows lined up through that are ready to film, HBO Max show, another show for Amazon or whatever. And they go into production the minute the actors step back into the door. And production runs so quick in television, episodic, you'd be surprised. Like they will literally be while we're doing the visual effects. But it has been a break for about 2 or 3 months. And it's been rough, as far as like not really having work. Thankfully, my boss hired me on full-time right as the strike happened. And I kind of tried to convince him to get out of it. I said, you really want to hire me when there's no work for the next 4 months? And he's like, no, we need you. We don't want to lose good artists. We're not concerned about that. So it's been great just being, kind of like getting my thesis done and just getting spare work. We've been doing a lot of independent movies, but the visual effects industry has taken a serious hit because unlike a lot of companies, there's a lot of mouths to feed in visual effects. And all of these companies that have fancy offices on major, San Francisco and Vancouver, the model is changing dramatically. There's going to be a contraction, and there already is a contraction going on in the visual effects industry. One of my students that works at ILM Singapore, probably the most expensive places to live, the entire studio of Singapore, ILM closed. And that was a bit shocking.
whoa.
Yeah, that was a shock.
I didn't know that.
Visual effects. And they worked on, Boba Fett, all that stuff. And now that whole studio is closed. And visual studios, the thing with visual effects is we have to bid for the job. So we have other competing visual effects, not just in the US, but also in India. And there's a lot of, everywhere around the world. It's hard to unionize, and visual effects has not been unionized with the exception that Marvel artists are sort of unionizing because of the abuse that's been heavy with that lately. But in general, we don't get the luxury like actors and writers. In fact, we'll get the person who goes on set and brings the tea and crumpets will get a credit, and we probably won't get a credit on this. Our producers, VFX supervisors will get credit on these shows, but we ourselves will not get a credit, most likely. That's why a lot of our credits will always be like uncredited or whatever. So like I worked on Cobra Kai the last 2 seasons and I didn't get any credit, but our producers got credit. And one thing I could say about film in general, the person I respect more than the director or writer or actor is the producer, because they don't get any glory and they work the hardest. So just be nice to your producer. They're some of the most selfless people on the planet. Our producer is Els Sassenreth, and she produced the show Gotham, and she is an incredible producer to work with. Like she practically ran Warner Brothers in Burbank, and she is the experience she has, and we swear she could read our minds. But she is super sweet and awesome. So just, if anything, I would, look into the reality of being a producer, even though you might think, well, there's not a lot of producer jobs. There's more producer jobs than there are writing and acting and directing, because those are what I call glory jobs, you know, where I'm going to get the glory, I'm going to be famous, you know. So yeah, it's yeah, that's it. So as far as the writers and actors, the writers officially, it's a tentative now. They got to like vote on it. As soon as that's done, it sounds like the actors are going to get in the room pretty quick, and then we'll be back in business again. It seems like every 3 years the contracts are renewed for these guys. So yeah, so I have to say, this industry can be just real volatile sometimes. But when it hits, it's a great time, and you just have a blast, you know.
Before we go into, if you still can do a little demo for them, just show them some pieces or whatever. I kind of wanted to open it up to questions. Some background, if you guys if you come up with any questions, it's like let me think for a second. Are you know, it could be about getting a job, working in compositing or VFX or games, or education, or where you can get resources. So do you guys have any questions? Do any of those come to mind? Or do any of those spark any questions in you, those subjects? Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more question that I think is pretty important. We're just learning Premiere for editing. So say they're like, you know what, they see what you're doing with compositing, and like, that seems pretty cool. I'd like to kind of learn more about that. Where's the best place for them to get resources to learn about compositing?
I have a YouTube channel. It's called vfxforfilmmakers.com. It's got about 22,000 subscribers. And most of my stuff is training up on how to use the program Nuke, which is how to do visual effects. And I've got about 2 million views on that. And a lot of people in the industry who are compositors know who I am, because they usually learn compositing from me, because not a lot of people do a lot of training on Nuke. But I usually offer the training materials for free from my website, and you just go through and learn the program basically via YouTube. There's also Effects PhD, which is a great site if you want to learn a lot more. I personally don't use Premiere. I used to. DaVinci Resolve is free, and I really like that. You guys can download that for free and play with that if you're interested. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I don't know, they have a Creative Cloud license, I think, for this class. I don't know how much longer, if it goes away after this class. So yeah, if DaVinci Resolve can do just as good, like, maybe we'll get those installed on the computers. All right. All right. So think about some questions for the end, and then Matt, can you share with us a little bit about what compositing looks like?
Yeah, let me share my screen here. Now, I made sure that everything I show you, can you see my screen? There we go. So everything I show you are shows that are already out. So I have a whole bunch of shows on my computer that are not out yet. Let me go ahead and, I guess, can you see, how do I hide this? Let me see. Can you guys see this little mute stop video?
No, we just see your
okay, cool. All right. So anyway, so you see this thing. So this is Nuke. Everybody can see this crazy nose.
Yeah, crazy.
This will get you fired really quick as a compositor. This is like working quick, and this is the kind of wiring we do to do all types of grading, color grading. And it may look complicated, but it really isn't that bad. There's like a grid warp and stuff like that, where I'm like warping her hair and such. But this is from the show. Wow. This is from an NBC show called Quantum Leap season 1. Season 2 is about to come out. We just finished season 2. It's a cheesy show about some guy, every time he wakes up, he's in somebody else's body or something through quantum mechanics. I have no idea. So anyway, so this is just one shot of incorporating, and these are the kind of weird duties that they would give me. Like, they give me this shot, and I'm going to show you a more organized shot. I just didn't have any time to organize this. But it starts out with a whole different shot from another take that I have to incorporate her into another take, right? So everything from like green screening to warping, and I don't even know. So like, I'm taking her out of the shot, and then I'm sort of merging her in to the shot, and I'm doing all types of little color grades on here, like even like some real subtle stuff. that
That's crazy. So this is not, she is not in that same shot.
no, she isn't. She isn't in the shot at all. So this is a typical like timeline in Nuke. And then finally, this is what we do to export this out. So we have like, for instance, we'll have a reference. So this is a reference. It's called a string out. And these are a whole bunch of shots that they need. Very, minuscule visual effects work. There's the guy from Ghostbusters, Ernie Hudson. So just all different stuff. Here's like them giving the rough idea what they want, basically. So ComGen into shot, basically. And there's all types of stuff in here. Like this was really tricky. Use another shot I had to do. This one. So she's not there. They kind of just like stuck her in there and put like a cut around, but I had to like get this, I had to animate this flash that occurs. Like he takes a picture of her. And here they kind of cheesily put it in. But there's all types of stuff in here. It's obviously property of NBC Universal. You'll get stuff like this. This I had to, because the character is taking on a woman, his face is actually in the reflection here. So I had to remove his face because otherwise the reflections in the show technically should always be the real person that they're enveloping or whatever. So there's all types of stuff, right, to like remove or blur the reflections on this ground or this table here, stuff like that. But I mean, and you send off a review. So this is the final. You'll have a slate that kind of goes over, what the shot is, what you did, and then you send off the final, which is usually in some kind of 4K format. In this case, it's 3840 by 2160. We're not working in 8K, which is insane. We're working on a show right now in 8K. Which is, when you take something, go from 4K to 8K, you're doing cleanup on something or putting in visual effects, it just like quadruples the amount of time that it takes to do things because the amount of detail has to be pretty much there. Just jumping ahead here, this is a commercial I just finished with another visual effects house in Chicago. And you might have seen this commercial on TV, I don't know, but it's for Waterloo, the water company. So we used AI from an artist and actually used AI art and incorporated this commercial.
What AI? I mean, like the people are fake?
Yeah, so you see how he turns into AI there? That's basically.
Oh, I see. He loves that water. Huh?
Yeah. It's supposed to be like. So anyway, that's that crazy commercial.
Can we watch the Quantum Leap episode? I want to see your handiwork.
That's probably through Peacock or something. I don't know. Or something.
I mean, can we watch it on here? Can you press play so we could see and just kind of talk over what was cut and what doesn't? Maybe a little
I don't have
snippet.
entire episodes. I don't keep the episodes. I just have single shots or whatever. But I wanted to go over.
Just a single shot. Oh, you are? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so this is
my own excitement.
This is a shot where they gave us, and here you can see they just really cheesily stuck in this image that's supposed to be like this 3D interface or whatever. And there's all types of stuff that we have to do in here, like depth of field, shallow depth of field. So here's like an example where we start with this sort of user interface, right? And then I start creating, like they said, well, at the last minute, like add an edge right here. See if I can, so you guys can see this without squinting. So, and then, I'm adding an edge right there. I'm doing some grading. I'm doing some hue correction, reformatting it, changing the blacks, which is color grading. And then I'm sticking the guy in there, transforming him over with this tracking. So there's like specific tracking that I'm doing. And then I come in here and I'm adding like a sheen, like a specific sheen. So there's like kind of like a, like a brightness because it's an LCD screen. Excuse me. So here's what they gave me originally. And then I had to, honestly, I don't even remember what I did, but yeah, I don't know what I did here. Something. I think I cloned stuff around or something. And then I had to take this, kind of replace the UI. They actually wanted me that the entire UI to be replaced. Then I stuck in the guy here and just let it play through. So you can see these have like little interactive graphics design movements. And you can see this is like 4K being cached on my computer here. So Just put the in.
Oh,
in the-
wow.
So yeah, you know, some NBC, CBS, ABC usually are cheapskates when it comes to visual effects. They're like, whatever, you know. And again, we bid these jobs, and we are cheaper than most visual effects houses, and we have gotten a lot of work because we ourselves do not have a physical office. We have boots on the ground in LA and Los Angeles and Atlanta, where most of the stuff is filmed. Like Cobra Kai is being filmed in Atlanta. The last season it's coming up. So we have people that will visual effects supervise, go on set, and we don't have a building. So we have no overhead as far as a building, which is great. We have a low amount of, you know, a small amount of employees compared to most visual effects houses, which could be in the thousands. I think we have like maybe 30 or 40 artists. But that allows for the cheaper chicken, as I call it. And that allows us to, you know, bid jobs, and they're like, oh, we'll give you the work and so forth. So it's constantly a bidding war job. And that's going to happen in most visual effects houses. You're going to find that there's going to be this retraction of these big houses, and a lot of people are going to be working from home from smaller visual effects houses, I think. And the big five will always remain, which is like DNEG, ILM. I forgot the other guys, but you got to really kind of think of it as there's really only, now there used to be five, now there's only 4 clients left, right? You got Warner Brothers, you've got, I think Universal got bought up or something, Disney, and the other 2. So we're all fighting for 4 clients, right? So there's been equilibrium on the big visual effects houses that they can't cheaper chicken each other around and, you know, lose money, because a lot of visual effects houses over the last 20 years have actually either gone under or were absorbed up into these bigger visual effects houses. So if somebody says, hey, we got 2,000 shots, we want a cheaper chicken, be like, good luck, because there's only X amount of visual effects houses that can do those type of visual effects. Small boutique houses like the one we do can do these small jobs for, you know, cheap little things. But we're getting into bigger productions. We're scheduled to work on the next Stranger Things. You know, there's a whole bunch of other shows we're going to be working on. So we're kind of excited about that. I'm hoping to visual effects supervise either in Los Angeles, what's called shadowing, the visual effects supervisors that are down there. So I'm hoping to fly out to just to get on set and have some fun, either in Atlanta or in Los Angeles. So
Yeah, I was going to ask you, have you ever gone on set to see what you're going to be compositing?
not for this company, but I've visual effects supervised independent feature films before. So that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It's I call it coal mining work. So if you're in a filmmaking, if you've ever worked on a feature film, which I've had, it's a long haul, and especially in the cold Chicago weather. I mean, that's tough. It's pretty crazy. So there's also things in here you got to think about, like defocus. So here I've added a mask so that I defocus these areas, because that's how the original plate was. You see how the area is not in focus. So there's all these little things that are optical camera based stuff that you can do that kind of helps sell the image a little bit better and make it really feel like it's being filmed through the imperfect lens of a camera. So I think finally I just wanted to show, let's see what else we got here. I just wanted to show this. This was done by a friend of mine. His name is Tony Lyons. I'm not sure why my license is messing up. Great. Come on, license.
Is for those, like, say somebody's on fire after seeing this presentation, sorry, as you're doing the licensing thing, how much is a license for them to learn Nuke?
They have a free version, a non-commercial version. They have also an education version that's about $250 for a year. And you can actually use that as long as you're making 100,000, only making 100,000 a year, basically.
And it renders and outputs the same thing at $250 a year.
Yep. And
that's freaking awesome.
I think it's quite a buy. Now, there's also Nuke Indie for those of you that are not in college like me, and it's not that much. I mean, considering how much you make off the program, I think it crashed.
You're talking about you hired students to work for you, and now they're buying houses and cars and stuff from their Nuke money.
Yeah, right now they're kind of holding on to their acorns as we wait for, because a lot of them were freelancers, hence they didn't have a full-time job salary. Most visual effects people are
go ahead, sir.
freelancers, and then a small majority are sort of like the heads of the visual effects heads of a studio, and those are the full timers. So,
I got a few questions about like, should I go to college? Should I get a master's? I'm a
yeah,
big advocate. I don't know about you. Like you're getting your master's and you're a pro and you're full time at a studio. What are your thoughts?
honestly, everything's on YouTube. I hate to say it. I don't know. I mean, film is interesting aspect. Film is more of a tactile on the ground, need to use the equipment, need to work in a group environment. So I'm never against film schools. I am against film teachers that dial it in. There's so many of them that it drives me nuts. I would prefer, as long as you're a film teacher that has a passion to teach. And there's some mix of those everywhere you go. You'll have teachers that dial it in. You'll have teachers that actually care and want to help
For
you.
sure. Yeah, I was even telling him like the first day of class, I was like, when you see your instructor, make sure to be a little selfish and be like, well, what can I get out of this in a good way? Oh, this is some of your work, huh? This is beautiful.
This is an old reel. I got so much stuff from the new stuff, but I'm waiting for it all to come out. The Disney stuff just came out, thankfully. There was a lot of visual effects there. So this was just independent. This is a commercial I did with Sam Jackson. This was great to work with the two people. There was a guy named Curtis Schwartzman, I think his name is. He's the Academy Award-winning cinematographer, and then Spike Lee directed this, so he's Academy Award-winning director. So working with them and collaborating with them. One thing I could say from the film version of what you guys are talking about in relation, the compositor has to respect the cinematographer's original intention. This is a COVID mask inside of Cobra Kai, so imagine having to recomposite water in front of it. This was an actor that wasn't supposed to be there in the scene, so we had to remove him. This was legal. The guy was wearing a shirt he couldn't wear, so we had to give him a whole new shirt. This was crowd replacement background. That's Steve Carell at the bottom there. This is another show for HBO Max where we had to change it over to wintertime. So a whole bunch of different compositing elements. This is Never Have I Ever on Netflix. This is Quantum Leap. I had to put a mirror in or whatever. A lot of these things like cleanup, it's may seem easy, but removing reflections, things when there's reflections moving around a shot are very difficult. This is Boo Bitch on. We get to work with a lot of really terrible Netflix shows. I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of those. You name it. But I mean, it's just simple things like this. This had to be sharp because it was a weapon that was used to murder someone. So we had to make the tube on the end of the toothpaste sharp. This had to look like it was like out in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, so
That's beautiful work, man.
It's a lot of fun, and then these are all the shows I worked on. Some of these shows are not out yet. Pradeep's of Pittsburgh, Vince Staples show, Quantum Leap. Here's the feature film, Bel Air. We've done seasons 1 and 2. So just a lot of shows while trying to get my master's at Purdue. So, so yeah, that's pretty much it as far as like the demo.
No, that was fantastic. Before I let you go, like
I'm in no
I want to
rush.
give it. Well, I want to give them an opportunity, like one last chance, if they have any questions, to ask a real compositor who's worked in film and TV. Any questions? They get a little shy. I mean, I certainly was when I was a student. Can they email or can they give me questions and I can send it to you? I call you on the phone anyway, Matt. So can I call you on the phone and relay their question to you if they have any questions? Do you mind?
Alex has been my lifeline to get my thesis finished, which is this long paper you got to write. So his expertise. And he's been a great friend. So
yeah, I appreciate it. Okay, cool. So thank you for saying that. That means a lot. Well, thank you, Matt. Virtual applause and real ones, man. That was so awesome. I wish my morning class more than when it came in, but I have this recorded to share with them. Yeah, I nothing more from here. Any questions before we let Matt go? All right, thank you. Thank you. Was there something in chat?
No, actually, let me check. There's this.
No.
Oh, never mind. All right.
Okay. Excellent. All right, Matt. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem. See ya.
All right, see you. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. If you need to talk to me, I think two of you do stick around. And